This is the tutorial for model creation, part 7. I'm going to start a new standard IPT. I'm going to begin my first 2D sketch using the XY plane. And I'm going to draw an L, but this L is going to sit on its side. So I'm going to start at the origin, and I'm going to begin with a line going to the right horizontally, and this line is going to be 1 inch. So I'm going to type in 1 inch. Now I'm going to take that line right from the end of the one I just drew, and I'm going to go vertical. So 90 degrees up from the point that I just ended at, and I'm going to go up 1 inch. Zoom out here, you can see a little better. I am then going to go to the right 4.5 inches. From the end of that point, I'm going to go up 1 inch, and I'm going to go back to the left all the way to the y-axis. So in this case, it should be 5.5 inches. And then I need to make sure that I connect back to my origin. So I get that green dot to appear at my origin, and I click. I'm just going to right-click OK to see a little better, and I'm going to press E on my keyboard. I'm going to extrude this object 3 inches. So if I take my distance here, and I'll change this to 3, I'll say OK. Like I said before, it's an L that's been turned on its side. What we need to do is we need to add a round to the end of this piece that we just extruded. So I'm going to use my fillet tool, and before I click anything, what I want to do is I want to change the radius. And you'll see here in this window that I have the ability to change this radius. So I need to click that and change it to 1.5. Now I can go ahead and select my edges, and I'm going to select this vertical edge that you see right here turning red. And then I'm going to select the opposite side that's turning red right now. And you'll see that I have created this round on the end of my extruded piece. I'm going to say OK. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a sketch on this top face. The easiest way to do this is, since we've already done this round, we actually have a center point in here, because the total width of this object was 3 and my radius was 1.5. So if I select project geometry, you'll see that I get a center point to show up. Using that center point, I'm going to select point, and I'm going to place one directly on that center point. You'll see it turn green. I'm then going to press H on my keyboard, and it will pick that point up that I just put there. I need to make this a 1 inch diameter. I need it to go all the way through, so I make sure that my termination says through all. And I'm going to change this default of 0.25. I'm going to change that to 1 inch. So I select 1 and select OK. Lastly, what we're going to do is I need to create a sketch on this back face that is portrayed on the top. So I'm going to go up to my view cube, and I'm just going to click this far right corner of my view cube to turn myself so that I see the back of my part. I'm going to start a sketch on this back face. And I'm going to do this with a couple different circles. Firstly, I'm going to take a circle, and I'm going to place it. I'm just going to put it up in this white area that you see here, not on my part. I'm not going to link it to any other geometry, and I'm just going to make a circle, and this circle has a diameter of 2. So once I click, I'm going to change the diameter to 2 inches. And it is just placed in there. We haven't located it at all. I'm going to right click OK. The distance from this center point to the edge of my circle should be 1 inch. So I'm going to click dimension, and I'll click the right side of my part to the center point, and that should have a dimension of 1 inch. I'm going to override that to 1 inch. I also need to adjust the height of where this circle sits. So I'm going to click dimension again. I will then click this top portion of my part to the center point, this distance needs to be 5 inches. So we'll change this to 5, or excuse me, 0.5 inches. Lastly, is I need to create a sloping feature here that is also used with a circle. So I'm going to select circle, and in this case, this circle is actually going to be tied to the geometry of this center point that you see here. So if I bring this over, you can see that I'm not dragging anything, but I'm not clicking anything. I'm just moving my mouse, and I'm keeping it in line with the center point of my previous circle so that I get that dotted line to appear. I'm going to click somewhere off to the left, but keeping in line, making sure that dotted line appears with the other circle. And I'm going to click once. And if I bring my mouse down, you'll see that it locks in to the top here. I'm making that tangent to the top surface. And you'll see that it defaults my circle to 1 inch diameter, and that's exactly what I want. So I'm going to click. I'm going to right click OK. And the last thing that I need to do is I need to make this circle tangent to this circle as well. So I'm going to come up here to my geometric constraints, and I'm going to select the one in the bottom left corner. This is my tangent constraint. I select that. I'm going to select my left circle and then my right circle. And you'll see that they are now tangent to one another. We'll right click OK. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to trim this piece now. I'm going to draw a line from the upper right of my part. You'll see it lock in with green. And I'm going to drag it over until it hits the bottom of my second circle. And you'll see a little X appear. And that should be 2.5 inches. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from that same right corner, and I'm going to draw up until I hit 0.5 inches, which gets me to the tangent right side of my 2-inch diameter circle. Now I'll right click OK. I'm going to use the trim tool now. Once I select trim, I'm going to start with my smaller portion. I'm going to click the top area of the circle. You'll see it turn dotted. And I'm going to left click. Then I'm going to select the bottom half of my circle here. Then I'm going to select this portion of my circle. And then finally, this portion of my circle. And you'll see that it leaves me with this geometric shape. I'm going to press E on my keyboard, and I need to extrude it, but I need to extrude it into my part. So I'm going to turn the direction of it by clicking direction 2, and I need the distance to be 1 inch. So I'm going to change it from 3 to 1 inch, and I'm going to select OK. I'll return to my home view, and you'll see that this is the completion of model creation part 7.